Welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at PepsiCo, their recent performance, and where they might be headed, all based on their Q4 2024 earnings report. Plus, we've got some extra analysis to dig into. So if you're thinking about investing in PepsiCo, or if you just want to know how this global company is adapting to all the changes in what people want to buy, well, stick with us. This is going to be
Well, it
interesting.
really is a fascinating case study. I mean, you've got a company that's known as a Dividend King. They've been rewarding investors for over 5 decades, consistently.
Wow, yeah.
It's 53 dividend increases in a row. And that brings the yield up to a pretty attractive 4%. But at the same time, there are some challenges, some definite challenges.
Let's start with the good stuff.
Yeah.
That dividend increase is definitely something. And their price-to-earnings ratio is pretty low.
Yeah, it's sitting at 20.6. And that basically tells you how much investors are willing to pay for every dollar of the company's earnings. So when you see a lower number like 20.6 compared to, the rest of the market or their competitors, it could mean that maybe, just maybe, the market's undervaluing PepsiCo right now.
Interesting. But then there's the flip side. Their earnings report also had some, well, not so great news. Sales volumes are down, especially in North America. And it's not just a small dip. We're talking declines across all their products, from drinks to snacks. Even their Quaker Foods took a hit.
Yeah, that's right. The numbers are a little concerning. It's a 3% drop in both Frito-Lay and PepsiCo beverages, and Quaker Foods saw an even bigger decline, 6%, which definitely raises some questions.
Yeah, for sure. And to make things even more complicated, they're being hit with unfavorable foreign exchange rates. So even though their international sales are strong, the U.S. dollar being strong is making their products more expensive in other countries, and that's impacting their profits.
It's true. You have to think about it like this. If you're in Europe, let's say, and suddenly a bag of Lay's chips costs more because of the exchange rate, you might not buy them. Those currency changes can really hurt a company's profits, especially a big global company like PepsiCo.
Right. It's like a tug of war, winning in some areas but struggling in others. And then to top it all off, their predictions for 2025 aren't exactly amazing. They're expecting low single-digit revenue growth, and those exchange rates might even pull down earnings per share growth even more. So, what's the verdict? Is PepsiCo losing its fizz?
I wouldn't say that. Not quite. I think it's more accurate to say they're at a crossroads. Yeah, there are real challenges. But PepsiCo isn't just sitting around. They're making moves to deal with these obstacles.
So they're not ready to be a thing of the past just yet.
Not at all.
Okay, good. So tell me, what's their plan? How are they going to turn things around?
Well, one of their big focuses is international expansion. And it makes sense when you look at the numbers. They're already a $40 billion business outside of North America. But they see even more potential in emerging markets.
$40 billion. That's huge. It's interesting that they see international as their biggest growth area, even though they're already so big globally.
It's not just about being present in a market. It's about choosing the right markets, the ones with the most potential for growth, like Latin America. Their sales in Latin America have jumped almost 55% in the past 5 years.
Wow, that's impressive. Are they seeing that kind of success in other regions, too?
Absolutely. In the Asia-Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, and China region, their sales are up a huge 66% over the past 5 years. And that's not all. Regions like Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, those are seeing some really impressive growth too, over 70% in the same time frame. They're really putting a lot of effort into these markets.
So it's like they're playing the long game, betting on the future of these emerging economies.
Exactly. They're investing strategically, building up their brand awareness, and making sure their products fit local tastes. It's a smart way to grow in a sustainable way. But that's not all they're doing.
It's like they're juggling a bunch of different strategies all over the world. But let's focus on their snacks for a second. Frito-Lay. They had a bit of a rough patch in 2024, after doing really well in the previous years.
Yeah, you're right. Snack sales definitely slowed down. Remember we talked about that 3% drop in volume? Well, Frito-Lay makes up a big part of that. They're facing a lot of competition, and people's tastes are changing.
So how are they going to get Frito-Lay back on track? Just release like a new Doritos flavor?
It'll take more than that.
Yeah.
Right now, they're focused on stabilizing the category, basically getting those sales volumes up again. They're putting money into innovation, new flavors, new formats, but they're also really pushing their marketing to remind everyone why they love those classic brands. Lay's, Doritos, Cheetos.
Makes sense. Remind people about the classics and bring in some new stuff to keep it interesting. But speaking of changing tastes, how is PepsiCo dealing with the demand for healthier food?
That's a great question. And it's something they're taking very seriously. Remember how we said they're at a crossroads? Well, this is a big part of that. On the one hand, they have these iconic brands
Yeah.
that are known for being, well, let's be honest, not so healthy.
Right.
But they're also seeing this huge shift toward people wanting to eat healthier.
It seems like a contradiction. Can a company famous for sugary soda and salty snacks really become a leader in healthy food?
It's a tough balance for sure. But they're not just testing the waters. They're making big moves. In fact, they just bought Siete Foods. They're known for their grain-free and dairy-free Mexican-American snacks.
Oh yeah, Siete Foods. I've seen their chips. They are really good. But is this acquisition just a one-off thing? Or is it part of a bigger strategy?
It's definitely part of a bigger plan. PepsiCo wants to tap into what they're calling mini-meal solutions. It's kind of like bridging the gap between a snack and a full meal. So you have convenient, healthier options when you're on the go.
Mini meals. That's interesting. So instead of grabbing a bag of chips, you go for a mini meal that's more filling and nutritious.
Exactly. Like a little pack of hummus and veggie sticks with a bottle of iced tea. Or maybe a single serving of Greek yogurt with granola and some fruit. It's all about having these convenient, portion-controlled options to satisfy those cravings between meals.
I can see that working. Busy people always need something healthy and easy to grab. But can PepsiCo really compete with the companies already in the healthy food space?
That's the question, isn't it? They're coming into a crowded market. But they have some big advantages. Everyone knows their brands, they have a huge distribution network, and they have the money to grow quickly.
Plus, they've been in the food and beverage industry forever. They know what people like.
Exactly. They have a deep understanding of what consumers want, and they know how to market their products. So it's not a sure thing. But I wouldn't underestimate them. They could become a major player. But we have to remember, this is all happening alongside some bigger trends in the food and beverage industry.
Like what kinds of trends?
Well, one is sustainability. People are more aware of how their food choices impact the environment, and they want companies to be more sustainable.
It's like people are realizing that their food choices have consequences for their own health and the planet's health.
Exactly. And companies like PepsiCo have to change to keep up. It's not enough to just make products that taste good. They have to be good for you and good for the environment.
That's a lot to ask. But what about PepsiCo's most famous brands, like Pepsi Mountain Dew and all those chips? Are those going to disappear?
I don't think so. Those brands are still valuable, and people are still loyal to them. But PepsiCo has to find ways to adapt them, to fit into this new world.
So maybe we'll see some changes to the recipes, healthier versions, maybe even some new marketing campaigns.
We're already seeing some of that, like
Yeah.
diet sodas, zero sugar options, big chips. They're trying to appeal to everyone, the people who love the classics and the people who are more health conscious.
It's a balancing act for sure. But let's think about our listeners for a minute. What does all this mean for someone who might be thinking about investing in PepsiCo?
Well, like we said, it's a mixed bag. On the one hand, you have a company with a long history of success, strong brands, a global presence, and that attractive dividend.
Yeah, especially for people who want some passive income.
Exactly. But you also have to consider the challenges, the slowing sales,
Yeah.
the exchange rates, and the need to adapt to what consumers want. All of that could be risky.
So it's not a simple decision. You have to think carefully about the opportunities and the risks.
Exactly. And remember, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. There are no guarantees in the stock market.
No crystal ball for stock predictions. But it sounds like PepsiCo is making some good moves to set themselves up for success. That mini meals idea really caught my attention. It seems like a natural next step for them.
I agree, it's a smart move. They're using their experience to create a whole new category. That meets the growing demand for convenient and healthy options. And buying Siete Foods shows they're serious about it.
I'm curious, what do you think these mini meals will look like? I'm picturing something portion controlled with a good balance of nutrients.
You're on the right track. Imagine a mini meal kit with a small salad, a protein pack, and a little bottle of dressing.
Now that's a great idea. That would be perfect for busy people who want a healthy meal but don't have time to cook.
And that's exactly who PepsiCo is targeting. They're recognizing how people's lifestyles are changing, and they're adapting to meet those needs.
It's a good strategy. But can they actually pull it off? I mean, creating a whole new category is tough.
It is a challenge, but they've shown they're willing to try new things. They have the resources, the brand recognition, and the global reach.
Just have to wait to see.
Yeah, in a way. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out over the next few years.
I'll definitely be watching. We've covered a lot in this deep dive. Their recent performance, their strategies, the challenges they're facing, and this mini meals idea. It's been a really interesting discussion.
It shows how dynamic the food and beverage industry is, and how companies have to adapt to what people want. Even huge companies like PepsiCo can't just sit back and relax.
They're at a crossroads, trying to balance their classic brands with all this innovation. And it's clear they're not afraid to experiment. But before we finish up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've talked about PepsiCo going for healthier snacks with Siete Foods and those mini meals. But can they really become like the healthy snack company? What do you think?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. It's a big goal, especially for them. I mean, think about it. Those bags of chips and cans of soda, that's what we think of when we think PepsiCo. It'd be hard to change that.
It's almost like they're two different things. A company known for sugary drinks and salty snacks, saying they're all about health now.
A lot of companies are struggling with that. As people change what they want to eat, the lines are getting blurry between food categories. But look, they're adapting, they're investing, they're buying other companies. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
So we just have to wait and see.
Pretty much. They're at a turning point. Will their old brands hold them back? Or can they bring in these new, healthier options and make it work?
It makes you wonder, can you picture PepsiCo as the go-to for healthy snacks? Or will we always think of them as the chips and soda company? Something to think about next time you're at the store.
It's a fascinating case study. It shows how even the biggest companies have to change and adapt to stay in the game, when what people want is constantly changing.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into PepsiCo. It's been a journey.
It has.
We looked at the numbers, we talked about their strategies, we saw the challenges they face, and that interesting mini meals idea.
It's a reminder that even in business, things are never simple. There's always more to the story.
And that's what we love about these deep dives. We get to explore those details, challenge what we think we know, and hopefully start some good conversations.
It's been great diving deep with you.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this exploration. We hope you learned something new about PepsiCo. And next time you grab a snack or a drink, think about the trends, the companies behind them, and how they're all trying to adapt in a world that's always changing. Until next time, keep those minds curious. And we'll see you on the next deep dive.